Welcome to today's Emunah Minute. This week we have the incredible privilege to read Parashas Vayira. And in the opening scene of the parasha, we see Avram Avinu sitting by the entranceway of his tent. Avram sits, Pesach ha'oel kechom hayom. It's a few days post-circumcision, a few days after his bris milah, and he's sitting by the entranceway of the tent. Says Rashi, why is he sitting by the entranceway of the tent? He should be resting, he should be relaxing. He was looking for archim, he was looking for guests. Avram Avinu was scanning the area all around for pedestrian traffic. Who could I invite in? Who could I be machnis? Who could I go ahead and benefit from what it is that I have? Who can I go ahead and give to? Avram Avinu was looking for guests to host in his tent. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu had Rachmanis on him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw Avram Avinu was an old man. He's suffering from the after effects of bris milah. So Rashi says, Hotzi chama minartika. Hashem made it blistering hot. That's why the Torah says Avram Avinu was sitting by his entranceway of his tent, kechom hayom, like the heat of the day. Torah doesn't normally tell us weather conditions. So why is the Torah Kedosha telling us it was kechom hayom? Because it wasn't normally supposed to be that hot. Kadosh Baruch Hu manipulated the weather patterns and made it exceptionally blistering, boiling hot, so that there should be no pedestrian traffic. Why? So that Avram Avinu shouldn't be bothered with hachnasas archim. He shouldn't be bothered with hosting people and taking care of them. He had to focus on his own healing. He had to focus on himself. But something amazing happens. Rashi says, "Ulefi shara'u mitztaer shelo hayu archim b'im." But then HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Avram Avinu was very distressed. He was distressed. He was upset that there were no archim, there were no guests to be had. So what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? The Ribono Shel Olam summoned guests, but not regular guests, Malochim b'demus anoshim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw how distressed Avram Avinu was that there are no guests, so he caused Avram to have guests, but not regular guests, angels who assumed human form. And there's an obvious question. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that Avram Avinu was distressed, Avram Avinu needed company, he needed to host, he needed to do the mitzvah achnasas archim for his own personal recovery, for his own personal well-being, instead of going ahead and bringing angels and making them look like men, and the story goes on, they pretend like they're eating, they're not really eating, it's a much simpler approach. Just cool down the weather. In other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you made it boiling, blistering hot. No problem. Put the sun back, right? Go ahead and roll it back a little bit. Bring it down a couple of degrees, a nice breeze, a little bit of shade. Let the pedestrian traffic start up again. And Avram Avinu will be able to go ahead and host guests in a normative way. In other words, why is the solution to the problem to bring angels who look like men? Why not create a simpler solution? Bring down the temperature a couple of degrees. There'll be more pedestrian traffic, and Avram Avinu could fulfill the mitzvah of achnasas archim, hospitality in a normative way. And perhaps the Ribono Shel Olam is teaching us an incredible lesson. Because sometimes in life, your circumstances are what they are. Sometimes things just are the way they are, and sometimes you can't change it. There are times in life where I could alter my reality. There are times in life where I could change certain circumstances that are currently part of my present. And then there are other times where my reality is simply unalterable, where my reality is what it is. But in those moments when my reality cannot be changed, a person has a choice. I could lament what should have been, could have been, would have been, or I can maximize what is. When my circumstances are not to my liking, I could complain and I could reflect how unfair, how terrible things are, or I could say, this is it. How do I make the best of it? How do I maximize it? And perhaps this is the metaphor contained in this story. You see, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes the sun out, it's blistering, boiling hot. No one could walk around. Sometimes life is blistering, boiling hot. And all you want is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you control the weather. Bring it down a couple of degrees, a little shade, a little breeze, make it a little bit cooler. You can do that. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, sometimes you have to learn the art of maximizing your circumstances, even if you can't change them. Could HaKadosh Baruch Hu have brought down the weather a couple of degrees? Absolutely. But instead, HaKadosh Baruch Hu leaves circumstances as they are, but adapts to this new reality. So there's no human pedestrian traffic. So what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? He brings out malachim, he brings out angels, dressed as men, or I should say, who looked like men, to visit Avram Avinu, because sometimes the circumstances in our personal lives is the blistering, boiling, hot sun. My circumstances are not that great. They're not what I would have chosen for myself. I'd like it to be a little bit cooler. I'd like it to be a little bit easier. I'd like it to be a little bit more manageable. But as all of us learn, we often don't control the circumstances. The only thing we do control is how we adapt, how we behave, and how ultimately we rise to the occasion of our present circumstances. It would be nice when it's hot outside to make it a little bit cooler, but sometimes you just have to learn how to navigate in the heat. Wishing everyone a wonderful day.